You can get up and inform people, but I want you to inform and inspire. And that's something else. Everything doesn't have to be fun, but you have to feel this is interesting. It was so tough that I said to myself, I have to quit.
So today in this very special segment, we have someone who has authored and very well known throughout the world for Grey of the Day. I am with none other than Micke Hermansson. Thank you so much for being with us, Micke.
Yeah, thank you for letting me come here.
While we would definitely like to talk on Grey of the Day, what does it mean? But I want to know Micke as a person. Where did this passion of teaching first start, and where did the passion of, because you are such a well-known TEDx speaker and you give keynote addresses around the world, there are so many people who struggle with stage fright.
Yeah.
How did Micke overcome that, and what was the success story?
When I was young, as my 11-year-old daughter right now, I was a little bit terrified. I became a teacher, and I realized that communication is like everything. And reaching out is the one thing you have to fix. So I practiced a lot. And now in Sweden, my latest book and my latest keynote is about presentation power. Because teachers, principals, or CEOs or whatever, they need it all the same. Yeah. Because you can get up and inform people, but I want you to inform and inspire. And that's something else.
Yeah, wonderful. And, tell me about the earlier days. So my idea of getting to know you is that how does one really come out of, say, a school life, college life, and get into this public speaking as a platform? What's that journey like? That is the part I'm trying to focus on.
I would love to say I had a plan, but I didn't. I was a teacher.
Okay.
For almost 30 years.
Yeah.
I'm working with kids from 10, 11, 12 years old.
Yeah.
And I did it again and again and again. And I loved my job. But as in a movie, suddenly something happened. I got a new class that really they didn't like school. They didn't like each other. And of course, they didn't like me. Right. So it was like, I couldn't reach them. And it was so tough that I said to myself, I have to quit. I have to do something else. But I want to try one, this is like the movie. I want to try one thing that has been on my mind. Yeah. Micro lessons, really amazing micro lessons. So in November, I was going to quit in January, but in November, I just, okay, let's go for it. And I tried this Grey of the Day formula that I had kind of invented. Yeah. And my class just, wow. For the first time in months, I had a class that was listening to me. Okay, I do it one more time tomorrow. And of course, of the day, I wanted to do it every day. And I never stopped. I stayed for 6 more years because the transformation was incredible. So 2015, then the rumors started to spread in Sweden. So I took 6 months off to go out to speak and give masterclass. And that's 10 years. I didn't look back because Grey of Day has now spread all over the world.
So, it's very interesting to find someone who's teaching, the age group of, say, younger kids to adults, to, someone who's a leader, a CEO, maybe above the age of 60. On a lighter note, tell me, whom is it easier to teach, the kids or the elder?
Oh, wow. I love to do what I do today, meeting adults, meeting different, from CEOs to the principal audience, etc. But they are tough. Yeah. Who are you? What can you teach me? Yeah. So you have to go in there you have to be really well rehearsed. I have a lot of energy. But the class can also be, you have to toss your hair if you have it. So I think that an adult audience can be a little bit tougher because we know, I told you before, after 35 seconds, if I'm not entertained,
you lose interest.
We pick up a device. And it's so tough because entertained, everything doesn't have to be fun. but you have to feel this is interesting. I learned something new. I will give you 4 minutes and then perhaps 4 minutes more, because you can't think I will give him 2 hours. That's a tough one, but I will give you a couple of minutes. And the class, yeah, I've lost both, and I also won both groups. So it depends. We'll see tomorrow when I meet this crowd.
Fear of the lead. This also brings me to another question that I want to understand, and this is more of a teaching technique that I'm trying to get into, right?
Yeah.
The way I feel is that, say, children are more of a clean slate, right? They're not there with many preconceived notion as an adult would have. How do you tackle that when you're doing a master class? Because people already have something in their head that this is the way to do things. How do you break that barrier and enter?
Yeah, that can also be really tough. I have to believe in my formula, my recipe, and I have to believe it with all my body. They have to see it, hear it, and see it in my eyes that this, I can assure you, it will work. And if I can be that like okay stamp, perhaps people will have confidence in me also. But when I was a rookie 10 years ago, I could go home sometimes and just, what happened? I won't do this again.
In a very short format, I would want you to help our audiences with the subject matter expert that you are, gray of the day.
Gray of the day. Okay.
This is
gray of the day. It's not gray, the color. It's the Swedish word gray with a J. That means one thing. So it's one thing every day. And the reason for that corny name is I knew that my students, they went home after another school day. Parents were asking, what have you learned at school today? And the answer was nothing special. And nothing special, that's a zero. And I thought to myself, before I leave them, at least one thing every day, one gray of the day. That was just my head spinning. So we named this formula gray of the day. It has like 3 typical cornerstones. I want them to be curious before. So we have like a pre-thinking phase. It's the clue. Every afternoon, I give you a clue for tomorrow. It could be a riddle. It could be a text. It could be a sound. Do you know how a giraffe sounds? That's a tough one. And I also send it back to the parents, digital, so they also have access to the clue, because I want them to sit home and try to figure it out.
The dinner table canvas.
Yeah. Finally, not just nothing special. Then 16 hours later, coming back this morning, you have tried to solve the clue, and I have a micro lesson prepared. And micro lesson for me, that's 8 minutes, 8 great minutes. So just a short story with facts, ending with a extra wow. By the way, one more thing to do. And then when you see the class like this, okay, that's it for today. We want more. No, that's it. I won't give them more. It's like the cliffhanger technique. But tomorrow we have something else. And of course, we will come back to this hundreds of times, but not right now. And then I want them to go home again with 2 things. A new clue, but also I want you to retell to someone from memory. Hey, Mom, did you know that blah, blah, blah? Something that was special from my micro lesson. And this was, today I can see it, it's the circle of learning. And this circle will continue to spin in so many ways, like a atom. Before I did it like this, it was a line. Lesson starts. Lesson continues. Lesson ends. What have you learned today?
Nothing.
But this one, home, school, back to home. On the wall, we have the gray of the day wall with a world map and everything with a needle and the thread, timeline. Everything was like focused on those short micro lessons. And after a while, first it was like, yes, fun facts. After 15, 20, the first hand came up. Michael, this reminds me of this. And then I got goosebumps because now I know that the pieces of the puzzle that was fun. But when the puzzle starts to build itself, that's learning for real. I couldn't stop. And I can't stop now because now it's spreading from country to country. Of course. Also, companies are interested in, is this a way to, yeah, I think this is the way to do it.
You are an excellent storyteller. And I think the learning technique also kind of, if I had to draw parallel, say with the entertainment world, right?
Yeah.
The best television series or the best movies are the ones which end at that cliffhanger. And then people have to wait for a year, 2.5 years to, see the other one, build that excitement up. The reason I'm laying down this context is also to understand from you, because you're such a good storyteller, what are the, most important portions that one needs to have in their story?
In a story. Well, I wrote a book about it, so I have a lot of answers. But as a storyteller or a presenter, a storyteller, don't be afraid to use your own experience. Once I was, but don't go too far. Just give it a little bit, and then you cut. Once again, the cliffhanger. And then you can say, hey, my name is Michael, blah, blah, blah. And then after 25 minutes, do you remember my story from the beginning? Now let's make it like that. That's a good one. And always end with something strong. Don't let it be like this.
Yeah.
And then you drop. And minutes go away and you drop. And the bell rings and everybody runs out. You have to, one more, like Steve Jobs, one more thing.
Yeah.
If I'm talking about the blue whale, for example, the clue for me, for you the day before was like colorful giant.
Yeah.
Okay, colorful giant. Yeah. Okay, that's the blue whale. I have 8 minutes and I tell a lot of fun facts, like a story, but I say the last minute, one more thing. Did you know that the tongue of a blue whale, it weighs as much as a full-grown female elephant? And people just, no way. Yeah, that's true. 3,000 kilos. Of course, they will go home and retell, hey, Dad, did you know that the tongue of a blue whale? And now we have the circle spinning again. So you have to end with something that you want to talk about, retelling about. And in the classroom, it's the same.
I also want to now come to, say, the business world, because you do so many masterclasses, keynote addresses. Are there any specific gaps that you see currently, that leaders miss,
I would say, and I wasn't surprised because I realized when I started to work with the presentation skill part that teachers weren't that good as I thought, or people in general are thinking. It's quite a tough one. But in the corporate world, it's the same. They know so much about the medication or the whatever brand they have. They have high salaries, they have good employments around them, but coming up on a stage and saying, hi, my name is, and now I'm going, that's a tough one. That's like the weak link. And for me, that's one of the most important links, because if you can do that from A to B, not just your friends and people who knows everything about this brand, you have to go to the other guy.
Yeah.
If you can do that step, you're the winner. And I now, the last years, working a lot with the corporate world.
Yeah.
And just, I want to make this change. I will do a couple of adjustments. Take away those two things. The PowerPoints with a lot of text, don't go there. Let's do this way instead. And don't stand behind the podium. Come out on the stage. So you have one step right and one step left. Use your arms. Don't have a mic. Use a headset.
Sorry.
Don't go to click on your computer. Use a clicker. And people suddenly, wow, what a difference. You're the miracle man. No, I'm not the miracle man, but I can see what like a personal trainer.
Yeah.
That's what I do with CEOs, etc. A personal trainer.
That's wonderful to know. And I was also thinking of something which I thought of checking with you.
Yeah.
Since the time you have started, obviously a lot of evolution that has happened, be it teaching techniques, be it the technology surrounding us. Maybe people didn't earlier on go to Google directly and check something. To today, obviously, ChatGPT and
Yeah,
AI
yeah.
and everything. What's your take on that? And is AI impacting the kind of work you are doing? Will it replace? What are your thoughts on this?
I use ChatGPT every day,
Of course,
just as help.
help.
I'm so old, so I want to be the brain behind my idea, but then for small changes, of course. When you are Homo Googleus since like 15 years, yes, we can have the exact fact, but that means you don't know everything around it. So if you know a lot, if you're interested, like my students in Grej of the Day, they could also take the new fact and put it into a web. But if you can't do that, it's just an answer.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean because you will forget it because you don't have the context. So for me, the slogan here is a Swedish one. Kunskap är coolt. That means knowledge is cool. And if you can get that message, knowledge is cool. If you want to be a football player, fine, but knowledge is still cool. It's not opposites. They can be like this. So the more you know, the more is ready for you.
I am completely on the same page with you when it comes to that. But I also want to know it from an observer's point of view. When you see others using, AI and the newer things that are coming in, uh, is there a hit to creativity? Are people letting go of that?
I was speaking yesterday in Sweden with a friend. We are going to sit down and create something new when I go back. And she was also like me. I want to first the brainstorming with no technology at all. Just our crazy brains together. And then I hope that a lot of people will think like that. I'm not sure. I have a 23-year-old daughter, and she's studying rhetorics. And she's a little bit, I can use the, no, don't do it. Make your own draft, and I will be there and help you if you want to. Just human brain power. Then in the end, we can like check if we have like another way to put that part, etc. But
Right.
don't go there first. Take that at step number 3 or 4. So that's what I'm preaching. I'm not sure what's going to happen.
We can all hope for the best.
Yeah, I think so. Because we have great power
Of course.
up here.
Of course. Say Gray of the Day obviously has been a success story since it's a concept that you have created which is not very restricted to a specific geography or a specific age group, right? It's being utilized globally.
I thought at start it's in class 4 where you have a class who is like my class and a teacher who's a storytelling nerd. But I was wrong because it's from preschools to companies. It's the Nordic countries first, yes, but now it's in France, it's in Australia, perhaps Asia, who knows? It's just because it's the way they're making a study now in Australia about Gray of Day, an international study, and they can see that this is kind of the way that the brain loves to learn. I'm interested. It's short. I have a wow that I will remember. I tell my friends and family, and they, wow. And we start talking about it. That's the way we learn. Instead of, you have to do it, homework tomorrow, a big test on Friday, and you do it, but you do it with your shoulders up here. They were always shoulders down. And some people try to put that down. It doesn't have to be fun. No, it doesn't have to be fun. But interesting, new, exciting, that's also fun.
Absolutely. And what I also wanted to understand is that the reason, again, the context behind the success and, getting back to that topic is to also understand what's the way ahead for you. What are you looking at? Is there something more interesting that you're going to hit the world with and people will be again amazed?
I'm really satisfied that spreading grej of a day, and for me, the presentation skills are really like this.
Yeah.
So now I'm working with schools, students, teachers, principals, but also with some really big companies. And for me, that's a perfect match. And in between, I can stay home with my dog a little bit and have it slow. So after this trip, I will take a couple of weeks, me and the dog and the family.
But Gray of the Day could be your cliffhanger.
It could.
And
And
the
I mean,
story continues.
there's always the part of luck, talent, okay, but opportunity and luck. Odds were 98% that I should just stayed in the classroom and being a teacher, doing this once in a while, perhaps every day. But you never know what happens. You can have plans, but this was not a plan. I was going to be a teacher. I was never going to be a keynote speaker. I was never going to meet companies. I was like afraid. And suddenly you have to just say yes for some opportunity when they knock. And I did. And I just, okay, this is 2025.
Of course.
I'm sitting here with you.
And what's also interesting to note is that, there are different fields which require a lot of, the communication skills. Maybe not every field would require it as much, but then there are these specifics here, sales role or marketing role. So do you also focus a lot more there, or, your curriculum is extended to all?
I try to reach a broad audience.
Yeah.
Some are specific. Can you coach just me? Because I'm going to do a TED talk. I'm going to have a big event, 500 people. I'm a little bit unsure. I can help you. But also people who are not going to do that, they just communicating, they have meetings, 15 people. It's all about reaching out. That's my mantra. Knowledge is cool.
Yep.
Reaching out. Because if we can't reach out, it's better to send a mail, not just gather people. You take time. Sometimes you spend money. You're going to listen to me, and it gives you nothing. Send a mail and spare us. But if you are a good communicator, you will reach out. People will go home and retell, and then we have the circle again. You have to check that girl out. She was amazing, and she said, and you can quote, because you remember. Suddenly you remember, instead of, well, it was so. What did you say? I don't really remember. Nothing special. And it's exact the same thing. 11-year-old kids, CEOs from big companies. It's the same kind of brain.
True that. We have covered topics across corporate, learning. We have meddled with AI, what's coming further, and the future plans. Maybe I think a succession is already being planned in your head, wherein the dot takes over one day. I can sense that.
I mean, for me, Europe and Australia was too much. I had no idea that would happen. If I could see 2 years ahead, Asia, and not least India, that's a dream. You must have dreams, and I'm a dreamer.
Yeah.
And I can see that, well, opportunities, sometimes they knock. You never know.
It's interesting how you came to India, because that was my next line of questioning.
Sorry.
Wherein, what's your, say, viewpoint on the country? You have engaged with the Indian audience quite a few times. How do you see the country growing, and, how do you take India as a growing power? What are your thoughts there?
I remember when I was a kid, and my point of view of your country, and what I know today, and what I see happening. Because right now, every time I read about India or take my own checking out, it's a country that really, really are heading forward. And of course, education. You can't skip education, because whatever you do, you need all the new youngsters to have the best possible education. That's key to everything. So I think you're one of the world's most interesting countries in so many ways, and with a mission to really go further and further. And if I go back 35, 40 years, what I can remember, that wasn't the way we looked at India in Sweden and Europe. Today, we are 100% sure. And I hear so many companies that they want to invest, they want to be part of India's vision. So of course, that's interesting for me also.
Absolutely. Thank you, Micke. I think
Thank you very
on the
much.
question side, that was it.
We
But
didn't speak about ice cream.
But it has been a masterclass for me, more of a personal coaching session wherein I saw all the hand movements go and I could notice, the various strategies that you really put into place. So
Yeah,
thank you so much for doing this.
thank
With
you very
me. It was an
much.
absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.